Welcome. You're watching The Real Medvite. This is going to be another one of my videos where I kind of just rant. There's no organization or whatever. I want to keep this one a bit shorter. And the first thing I want to do, as you can see in the title is, does Orthodoxy have a right-wing problem, specifically far right-wing problem? Does Orthodoxy have that kind of an issue? Um, I want to start exploring that by exploring this article written by a certain Yanis Constantinou called Orthodoxy's Appeal to the Liberal Left. Now, this is a response to an article written by a disgusting looking get that disgusting face out of my screen. By this whatever, who basically says, look, this article is one of those articles where it's really not worth anything unless you print the article out and use it as toilet paper. This is basically one of those articles, okay? It basically says, oh, converts to Orthodoxy come from Protestant background. That's why they are far right, and they're also old calendars, and also Matthew Heimbach's bad, which he is bad, but that doesn't say anything. So basically a bunch of nonsense. So this article is a reply to that. And the whole point of this article is to say, if Orthodoxy has a extremist problem, the extremists are from the left, not from the right wing. And he pushes this point from the perspective of AFR. He points out that there are many people working in ancient faith ministries that explicitly hold antichrist views. And I'm not going to go over the entire article because it's kind of a long article. It's a good read. I will recommend you check it out. It's a good article. Ancient Faith Radio has published a response, which is basically a nothing response. It's basically, to summarize it, what they basically say, oh, we have a policy here that you have to abide by, and we've had people expressing their discontent with some of the people in here, basically saying nothing of value. It's politics speak. We know how that stuff works out. We're not children anymore. So I wanna just show you, kind of summarize the main points, because images speak 1,000 words, right? So this is Ancient Faith Ministry speaker Summer Kinnard. I don't know which one of these is Summer. If it's the right one, I'm really sorry. But this is, again, in the Feminist Women's March. Here's the writer of that disgusting article. Her avatar is smaller, so I can tolerate that. But basically supports same-sex relationships, right? And by the way, I'm gonna kind of, this channel, I am not a soft-spoken person, even though at times I should be. I'm not a soft-spoken person. If you have more of a problem with me speaking honestly about how disgusting this demon looks, then if you have a problem with me not being nice, and you don't have a problem with these people supporting antichrist ideologies, then you're also one of the problem. So we don't want you here either. So this is public paganism writer Catherine Khalidis supporting LGBT. Summer Kinnard endorsing a book about a queer woman seeking refuge in Appalachia. She struggles as a queer Jew in a dictatorship rife with dangers. Soldiers, monarchs. So monarchs are a danger, apparently. So I guess all of these saintly emperors were also dangers because they were monarchs too, right? I mean, this doesn't make any sense, right? Catherine Khalidis donates to a pro-abortion group, right? The Yellow Fund provides funding for anyone seeking care at one of Alabama's 3 abortion clinics. And she says, and donated, right? So she's also pro-choice. So she's pro-murder of babies. Now let's talk about another person, Angela Dole Carlson. This has always been my motivation for being pro-choice, and she is quoting Tim Kaine in the vice presidential debate. So Angela Dole Carlson, who's an Ancient Faith radio host, boasts of being pro-choice. The funny thing is, Ancient Faith, I'm not going to link the book because I don't want to advertise for my enemies, but she has a book that is being published by Ancient Faith Radio too. I'm not going to name the book, but Ancient Faith Radio is publishing her books as well. Someone who's pro-choice. So just think about it for a second. It doesn't stop here. Okay, right? Summer Kinerd, as we've seen at NC Women's March. Look at the posters that they post, right? Signs and whatnot. Catherine Kalidis is making fun of here, mocking male-only ordination, right? You do have to wonder how credibly the church can claim to be universal when this is how the elections of our leaders look. Apparently, God created humanity in infinite diversity. I wonder what she means by infinite diversity, right? LGBT stuff, probably. But decide the leadership of his church shall be entirely old, male, and Greek. So, Greek, old, okay, but male? No. That basically promoting female ordination now. Really good, right? We have a Roker deacon in here that doesn't matter. He's a crazy guy. I've seen this guy. He's a crazy dude. Alex Riggle, I believe. Alex and Charlotte Riggle, I believe they're affiliated with AFR. They are in a Pride Parade. It's a picture from a Pride Parade. Charlotte Riggle is sponsoring a children's book organization that is pro-LGBT. If we know anything about LGBT and children, we also know pedophilia, right? So again, just think about it. Books endorsed, right? My favorite books are all stories recommending a pro-LGBT book for children. Charlotte Riggle, I guess she's AFR, right? They're going to basically talking about Pride Parade, and she spoke at an Ancient Faith conference for writers and bloggers and podcasters, right? So Ancient Faith Radio invites people like this, pro-LGBT people are invited to Ancient Faith conferences. It's really good to know. Really, this is in safe hands, isn't it? Ancient Faith blogs publishing articles by pro-LGBT author Charlotte Riggle, right? Ancient Faith Children's editor Jane Meyer endorsing Summer Kinerd and Charlotte Riggle. Good stuff, good stuff. So that's kind of what I wanted to summarize. Just wanted to show you how there are many different far leftists that have infiltrated Orthodox institutions. Not institution. I mean, AFR isn't really an institution per se. It's a website, but it's kind of a significant website. And before I talk about the right wing stuff, I want to kind of talk about AFR first. What I think about AFR. I don't like AFR. Does AFR have good stuff? Yes, it does. But a lot of stuff in AFR is really bad stuff. It has shady people. It's not on the level where, like, if someone posted a good AFR article, I wouldn't say, oh, delete that, right? Like other websites. But I will definitely say exercise caution, because there's a lot of bad stuff in this website, right? And we've already shown you examples of it. Another example I can give to you, those people in Twitter, Ortho Twitter will know this, is Ambrose Andriano, who is a Origenist, also comes as a guest on AFR occasionally. He kind of boasts over this as well, and he's an open Origenist. He basically says that he is against the Fifth Ecumenical Council. He's against the Ecumenical Councils. He basically says Origen is a saint. The Ecumenical Councils were all wrong. So he blasphemes the Holy Spirit. And what does Christ say about those who blasphemes the Holy Spirit? You probably know what he says if you're watching this video. And if you don't, that means time to go read your Bible, right? That means a good reason for you to check the Bible out. But so for every good thing in AFR, there are 10 bad things, essentially. It's unfortunately a bad place. And I think I have like one link from AFR in any of my videos, and that's only one. But okay, that's enough about the leftist extremist infiltration into Orthodoxy. Does Orthodoxy have a right-wing problem? As this article points out, it's the opposite. It has a left-wing problem. But I want to kind of expand on this too and talk about some of the arguments that leftists make against Orthodoxy and just that stuff in general. And as I said, I don't have a script here, so I'm going off of memory. But the first thing I want to start is, here's what I want to start with. The reason I want to explain kind of like the far right thing as a beginning. So if you've seen my episode with Luke Kendra, uh, I have a history of far right stuff. I was in that world. I am fluent in that language, so to speak. I know kind of the ins and outs of that kind of thinking. And as I pointed out in that interview, I guess, or stream I did with Luke, I pointed out that and even in videos way before that, I pointed out that I dropped anything that is far right, that goes contrary to Orthodox. That's one of the first things I want to start with. From my experience, especially, any person who used to be far right, who converted into Orthodoxy, eventually, as time went on, dropped their far right. They just dropped their baggage. They eventually dropped the things that was incompatible with Orthodoxy. So I believed in a multitude of different. First of all, I believed in usury. I used to think usury was not a big problem. I used to be pro usury. I'm not anymore because of Orthodoxy. I used to be pro choice, qualified pro choice. I'm not anymore, right? So a bunch of more that I can talk about. And I've known many different people who basically recognized that some of these things that they believed were incompatible, and they said, look, I can't hold these views anymore, so I'm going to drop these views. And some of these people were hardline, right? These were hardline views for some of these people. I've never seen a leftist do this. I have never ever seen a leftist ever do this. A left, quote unquote, ortho or left calf, if you want to add those people. So I have never seen a leftist ortho say, oh, I used to be pro LGBT, I'm not anymore. I'm anti LGBT now. I've never seen any of them do this. Never. I've never seen this happen. Some of you guys who are watching this, maybe you've seen this, and if so, great. I just never seen this myself. And usually a lot of the people who are outspoken about their heterodox political opinions, for example, their views are most of the time leftist views, right? I mean, think of Seraphim Aldia, think of many of the feminists that you might be meeting who say, oh, I don't need to veil, oh, women should be in the workforce, oh, I'm going to make a trad Orthodox YouTube channel, but I'm a second wave feminist. I believe second wave feminism is great. No, all waves of feminism. By a person like this did exist back then. They don't exist anymore. You can thank me for that. I diffused that bomb. I kept it under control, diffused that bomb. A lot of people attacked me. They didn't like me because I saved them from the trouble of dealing with a quote unquote, a feminist quote unquote Orthodox trying to subvert the faith. No need to take me, guys. I'm just doing my job. But okay, jokes aside, it did happen, minor, but jokes aside, um, that's one thing I want to talk about. That's one thing I wanted to mention. Another thing I wanted to mention, uh, in relation is that this is going to be a bit bold, but a lot of people, when they look into this, they say, oh, Orthodoxy is not right wing. It's, they try to, oh, it transcends politics, or no, you guys are worse. They kind of just, I'm going to make a bold statement. Orthodoxy is right wing. Orthodoxy is a right wing religion. In my terms, I'm using the terms the way I understand it. What I mean by that is that the political views that Orthodoxy expresses, is compatible with, and implies, these views are right wing. So right off the bat, LGBT, right? The views on LGBT, Orthodoxy is right wing on that. Anti-LGBT, on traditional marriage, gender roles, Orthodoxy is very right wing. Some will say even far right wing in that regard, right? Strict gender roles, that's all in the Bible. It's all in the church fathers. I made a video on the church fathers' view on women. You can go check that out, what church fathers have to think about women, right? So you can go check that out. Orthodoxy's view on, on feminism, right? Kind of connected with the second thing I mentioned. Anti-feminist, that's a right-wing view. And we can go even further, church and state, right? Even Patriarch Bartholomew is against secularism, which includes the separation of church and state, right? Now, it doesn't mean that you have to be Orthodox, you have to believe that secular states that are not Christian have to. No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the ideal Christian society is a society where church and state are not separated, which is what it has been for Christian societies until the Second World War. This has been the norm for Christian societies until the Second World War. It has been until not in the Second World War, but until the Soviets. This has been the norm for Christians, for Orthodox Christians especially. So that's an Orthodox Christian view. You can check the Old Testament for that as well. As I point out to Luke, the Old Testament is the greatest treatise against secularization. Every time Israel was secularized, stuff went to go bad. Ethnic nationalism of some form. This might raise question marks to people, so I will elaborate what I mean by that. It means believing in the existence of ethnicities, nations, understanding them as an extension of extended families, right? So nation is a form of a family in some sense. It's real, right? It's not a nominal category that's ultimately that ultimately is a result of environment, like a lot of these meme guys think, these meme academics think, right? And an example I can bring is, first of all, Old Testament again. Look at the Book of Tobit. I don't remember exactly, but in the Book of Tobit, there's even like a warning against marrying someone outside of your tribe, right? But even more simple examples that I want to give to you is you can look at Saint Isidore of Seville. He has a treatise called On the Properties of Races, or on the Properties of Nations or Ethnicities or whatnot. And it's literally a book of how each race acts, or how each ethnicity acts. And some of the stuff he writes are not nice, right? I think this book is quoted in a Ortho-Christian article, but it's in Russian, so it's difficult to come by. It's not translated to English, probably for obvious reasons, right? Another example I'm going to give you is by Saint Nicholas of Japan. When there were Japanese Christians that faced with a dilemma. Look, Russia and Japan was in war, and Japanese Christians were wondering, should I pray for my nation, or should I pray for the Christian nation that is not my nation? And if this leftist view of the ethnoi was true, do you know what that will mean? That will mean that Saint Nicholas will have to say the true thing to say. Well, at the end of the day, we're all one race, the human race, right? Insert bad out of context quotation of Galatians 3:28 or whatever. We're all one race, human race. So really it doesn't matter. But he said, pray for your own nation. You're Japanese, so you should pray for the Japanese nation. It only makes sense, right? So all of these together, it implies the existence of an ethnicity. Now, the debate on where we should carry that, where we should, like the implications of that, that's a different debate. That's not my point. Monarchy, right? Monarchy is a right-wing view. Again, Christian history has been true with monarchies. Heaven is a kingdom. All of these arguments that you can make. Having said that, I'm going to get to the counter argument. And the first counter argument that you see from leftists on this issue is on monarchy, right? I've seen someone make the argument frequently that, but Israel wanted the monarchy and it was bad, right? And they had their own system in place, and they desired a monarchy, and it was shown that it was a bad thing that they desired a monarchy. I don't have the explicit verse citation, but for those who have read it, they know what I'm talking about, right? So you guys get what I'm getting at. And that is a bad argument, because they already had a God-ordained system in place, and they wanted monarchy, which is a good thing, but they wanted it for the bad reasons. They wanted it to be like the other nations, to be like, what does being like other nations mean? One of those things is being secular like the other nations, right? So there's that to consider. You have to also consider that, look, monarchy in that scenario, it's good, but if you have bad intentions, it can turn into evil. A great and this is an iconophile argument for icons, right? For example, the sacrifices, the animal sacrifices to God in the Old Testament. If you sacrificed, right, your offering to God, those sacrifices were good, right? What you sacrifice. But if you sacrifice it to demons, it becomes bad to the point where you're not even allowed to eat it, right? You can't eat the food that was sacrificed to idols. But if the same food was sacrificed to God, was given to God, it's good. So what's the problem here? Well, the intention, right? So the purpose of the material being used kind of dictate what it means. And it's the kind of same thing with monarchy. If you want to be a monarchy for a bad purpose, it's going to be a bad thing, even if even if the system's good. So that's not a counter argument. And again, if you look at Orthodox Christian history, you look at Symphonia, you look at all of church-state relations, you look at the importance of the Tsar, the Emperor, the Basileus, and you can understand that Orthodoxy is not a democratic, it's not a democracy religion, so to speak. Okay. So all of these things, these are all right-wing views, and left-wing views in contrast. And the point that I'm trying to make here is, again, to illustrate what I was trying to say, these are all right-wing views. Orthodoxy is right-wing. It's to say it has a right-wing problem is to say Orthodoxy itself is the problem, essentially. And I want to say a final note. I said this was going to be shorter, but it's not short. I'm sorry. But on a final note, I want to talk about the lukewarm people in places like Reddit, right? The subreddit of Orthodox Christianity. First of all, if you guys didn't know, I am actually banned. I'm not saying my account is banned because I'm not on Reddit, but mentioning me, posting and advertising my videos, all of that stuff, that's banned. Now, here's the funny thing. I am banned, but David Bentley Hart, that's completely fine. So, just think of that for a second. Now, I believe the owner of that, subreddit, or one of the mods at least, is an Origenist, is a David Bentley Hart fan, is a Universalist, which Universalism is heresy. Okay, Universalists don't. They're going against the teachings of the church. They're going against Christ, and when you go against Christ, you don't go to a good place. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. I'm not threatening, or I'm not saying anything mean. I'm speaking the truth. You're going against the teachings of the faith. You're not a Christian. You're going to hell if you don't repent. I'm serious. Of course, they're gonna bring Saint Gregory, but I'm not gonna. This is not an argument on that. That's already been responded numerous different times. Here's the final note I want to make against the leftist problem in Orthodoxy. I think Orthodoxy has a leftist problem, right? As I've shown here. Places like, I've noticed that in places like that Reddit page, or some of the Discord server, or some of the Twitter people, or some of the communities, right? They make these communities and they make rules. And according to those rules, here's a problem that I have with some of these people saying the things that the church fathers have said without, mentioning the church fathers said it. Saying the same things that church fathers have said can get you banned from these communities, right? So, for example, I am banned because apparently I am an anti-Semite. Apparently, I'm an anti-Semite. Apparently, I didn't know about that, but turns out I am an anti-Semite, guys. So, I that's a very sad medical condition. I think I don't know what it really means, but I think that's a medical condition. So I don't know, but I guess I guess that means I hate Persian people. Because I think Persian is. Anyways, so I'm banned because of that, which is like, again, whatever. People that's gonna hang out in that subreddit are degenerates anyway. I don't like those people. I don't like the people who like those people. I don't like I don't like Reddit. I don't like people who go on Reddit, and I don't at all like people in that subreddit. I'm very clear on that. But again, I should really record my thoughts, because I've actually forgotten one of the points that I was supposed to make. But I've noticed again, if you quoted some of the things that the church fathers have said about Jews or homosexuals or women, if you quoted what the church fathers said without like mentioning the church fathers said, you can get banned from these places. And here's the problem I have. If you're basically banning these sentiments that the church fathers have uttered, right? Then your problem is not with that person. Your problem is not with the far right. Your problem is with the church. That's who you have a problem with. And if you're going to ban people for doing that, that tells a lot about what kind of a person you are to everyone. That basically means you will be one of those people who will reject Christ. You will be one of those people who will reject the church fathers. You're one of those people who reject the church. You just want to pretend that you're in the church. That's what it tells about you. That's what it says about you. And that to me is very, very, very crystal clear. And most leftists, 99% of them, are like that. So I want to kind of close this rant with dealing with another leftist objection. You see this caricature of a hippie Jesus, and they will say Jesus is communist, which is an utter blasphemy. You'll see this is a couple of you'll see masochistic quote unquote Christians who are Marxists who will push this views. And I want to give an example of someone I saw on Twitter who said, "Oh, I was reading the Church Fathers, and it's so crazy how many of them talk about redistribution." Now, to be fair to him, he didn't say what he meant by that. So, he could be just referring to almsgiving, which no one has a problem with that. But some people look at that and say, "Oh, that means communist. That means we should redistribute the wealth overall." No, that doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. So, because first of all, how is it almsgiving when, like, look, okay, I'm being taxed by the state, and you can replace the state with a commune or whatever. I'm being taxed by the state or the commune for a percentage of my income, and some of my income go to the poor families. Am I giving alms to those poor families? Well, my money is going to them, but I'm not giving alms to them because I haven't given my money for that purpose. That's not almsgiving. In fact, I've seen many communists speak against charity. I'm going to go off of anecdote here. So anecdotal arguments are not arguments, but whatever, anecdote. I want to show something else. Yeah, you can read this, whatever. But anecdote. This was in high school, and we had this weird communist guy in our high school. First year of high school, we were all like, I think 15 or something, and he was 17 or 18. So we already had an adult in our class. Apparently, he had to repeat the preparation class in a different school twice, and then he couldn't do that, so he had to come here and he had to do the prep here. And he's 18 when he's in the first year at high school. So communist genius, right? But that's not the point. He made the point, I don't believe in charities. Charities are evil. I don't think charities should exist. Now, at that time, I had no idea about politics, so I didn't know about it. But he made those arguments. I've seen many different communists online and make the arguments against charity, right? Charity should not exist. Redistribution is the only truth about it. So actually, technically, almsgiving is anti-communist. It's actually not anti-capitalist even. And that's another thing where, like, you can find the most free market guy that you can find, not the caricature, but an actual real person, and you can ask him, look, you're against redistribution of wealth, and he's going to obviously, but if you ask him, but what about almsgiving, right? Should people give charity? Like, should people give to charity? He will say, yes, of course. In fact, he will say that's a good thing. That's what we want, and that's why we're against the government redistributing, so that people can do it for themselves. I've seen many libertarians make this argument back when I was a libertarian, so I've seen it myself. So that doesn't make any sense. And what I'm getting at is that people are confusing virtues with political stances. They think almsgiving is somehow redistributing the wealth. No, that isn't. They think whipping the moneylenders in the church somehow means imprisoning businessmen or whatever. No, it means whipping the people who are mistreating God's house. That's why they were whipped. That's what Christ says. He says, "You mistreat my Father's house." That's the purpose. It's not an economo-political message or anything like that. It's not a political message. He's basically saying, you people are disrespecting bringing the world into the temple. You're not supposed to do that. That's the point of it. So all of these misunderstandings stem from confusing a political policy and a Christian virtue. And like, they think of compassion, right? Oh, when you think of compassion, people think of liberalism, right? Oh, compassion is a liberal virtue. That's why all of these disgusting people, they hide behind a curtain of they hide behind a curtain of compassion and all that kind of stuff. Right? They say they speak in a nice way. Oh, I'm compassionate. I'm empathetic. Being compassionate is not a liberal virtue. Okay, it's a Christian virtue. Number one. Number two, like any virtue, it can be misused, and many of these people misuse it. And liberals consistently misuse it, and they use it as a justification to push antichrist beliefs, right? So if you're anti-LGBT, they'll say, "Oh, aren't you compassionate towards homosexuals?" The answer is yes, I am compassionate. That's why I'm against homosexuality, because I'm compassionate towards homosexuals, because I want them to not be mentally ill. Okay, that's the normal answer. It doesn't take a genius to say that, and uh, people have already said this to death, so I don't know why I'm kind of repeating it. But one of the I forgot which other scriptural argument that was made, um, but I think you get the point. I think you're getting the point of what I'm saying, and that's really what I just wanted to say in general. Again, 30-minute rant. I'm feeling really ranty these days, but that's because I have a lot of stuff coming. Good videos are coming up soon. Look out for them. I mean, look, I gotta make content, and sometimes making content, you gotta make some low quality content, and at times people like the low quality content. So, can you really blame me? I guess you can a little bit, but those are my thoughts. In summary, does Orthodoxy have a right-wing problem? No, because Orthodoxy is right-wing. Orthodoxy has a left-wing problem, and we have a lot of people infiltrating, leftists, anti-Christian leftists, infiltrating the church, trying to subvert the church. They can never do that because the gates of hell will never prevail. But when we see the gates of hell in front of us, we shall respond to them in the way they deserve. And sometimes it has to be a little harsh. Sometimes, okay? That's what I wanted to end and summarize with. So thank you all for watching this. Forgive me if I muttered too much. I'll see you guys in the next video. May God be with you all. And if you are one of these people that I attack, please reconsider your position. Understanding that you're wrong can be an amazing thing. I've never had that feeling before, but it can be an amazing thing, okay? I'm just kidding. So please consider. And thank you for watching this till the end. I'll see you guys in the next video. God be with you all.